Welcome to the Beare Flooring podcast, where we share real insights into our business and the flooring industry. Today, I'm joined with my friend and my lawyer, Sam Rees. Sam, how are you?
Good, William. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Honestly, thanks so much for coming in. Our podcast previously, we've had franchisees on, really, and some senior management. But I wanted to bring you on to get some information so we can share directly with our audience and prospective franchisees, a little bit about franchising, I suppose.
Sure. Yeah, happy to help.
So if we can maybe start out by giving us a little bit of information about yourself, your career, things like that. Where are you now and how did you get into it?
Yep. So I'm a franchise lawyer. I've been a franchise lawyer for about 13 years. I own a firm called IP Partnership Lawyers. That firm's been a franchise firm since about 1995.
Wow.
I worked with the previous owner and my mentor at the time, Ivan Poole, who was a big personality in the franchise sector, in the franchise legal sector. So I became a partner of that firm in 2017 and bought the firm in 2019.
Wow, that's a whole lot of longevity at the one place.
Yeah. So I've been driving to the same office in Southport for about 13, 14 years. I've got a really great team at the office, great team of lawyers, and I've got my right-hand woman, Laura Slowgrove, who's been at the firm for this will be her 15th year in June. It's a really great. I love what I do. Love working with clients like yourself. Love getting. I guess with franchise law, you get to become part of the team of the clients that you act for.
Yes.
And so you're not calling me typically for negative. Dispute type of work, although that happens, but for the most time, when you're calling me, it's positive transactions. It's like, hey, I'm growing my business. Like we've got this new opportunity, new franchisee coming on board in such and such, or wherever it might be, and so.
We're putting things together and making it work.
Exactly.
It's actually a really quite an interesting thing. I often say, I was just with my lawyer or just talking to my lawyer. And almost every time I say that to someone, they think, something must be wrong. But actually, that's not the case for us.
Not the case, which is good. I mean, we just a quick firm plug on our end. We've just got a litigator at the firm, which is awesome.
Yes.
And so in terms of the dispute work, we'll probably be doing. Whereas we usually would refer that out back in the day, most of it. These days we're doing more of that doing the franchise IP dispute work in-house too.
Cool, that's good. So one-stop shop, you do all of it.
Yeah, but you and I, when we're talking, we're doing deals.
But it's positive, yeah. And it's good, I am very relationship-based the way we like to run the business. In fact, even up until we won't grant a franchise license to someone if we don't feel it's the right fit. We like to work closely with people that we get along with.
Totally.
And I think it's a vital part of how we like to run our business. You're actually my third lawyer. We went through 2 lawyers prior to you in about a month, I think. So when we got connected with you, it was really clear to start with that you were an expert franchising and that you were just relatable and it just made sense. So that's something that we're really happy about, and it's good we've built a friendship and we've got a good connection there now.
100%. I remember, I think, was it 3 years ago?
It's probably something like
2
that.
2 to 3 years ago.
2.5, 3.
Yeah, and I think it was your sister who I spoke to first, and then and you guys wanted to sort of vibe check me, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
And so I think we had a phone call and realised pretty early on that there was a good working relationship there. And so it's been a pleasure acting for you. You're obviously a valued client of the firm. And
well, must be to drag you into my office on a Saturday to sit on my
exactly.
podcast.
On Anzac Day.
So as far as getting started with a franchise, lawyers don't typically get involved in franchising until the deal's about to come together. So people have spoken to me, have explained the business. They like it. I like them. Happy to approve them. Want to sign up. How do they get started? What does that process actually look like?
Yeah, so the franchise industry in Australia is heavily regulated by the Franchising Code of Conduct. And a big part of that regulation comes down to the recruitment process. So unlike other business models, there is a process, a very strict process that needs to be followed when franchisees are recruited and sign franchise agreements. We take care of that component for you, but I guess in a real snapshot, what that looks like is a franchisee makes an inquiry and says, "Hey, I'm interested in a Beare Flooring business." You will give them an information statement. And then you will vet them, vibe check them, make sure they're the right person for your business. And if they are, then typically what will happen is they'll pay a deposit, which is paid to our trust account. And then from there, our team will handle that disclosure and recruitment process. So a disclosure document and franchise agreement is issued.
Okay.
They have that for 14 days at minimum. To review and to get legal advice on it and whatever.
Yes.
And then once and they may request
That's like
some
cooling off. Hey, 14 days. They're not allowed to sign it until they've had 14 days, right?
Yeah, correct. So to a certain extent, so there's actually another cooling off period as well. So there's a 14-day disclosure period, or what's called a consideration period, I think, under the new code. And then when they sign the franchise agreement, then there's another 14-day cooling off period.
Yeah.
I have only seen, in my experience, honestly, maybe two franchisees terminate under the cooling off period. It just doesn't really happen because they've gone so far, and they'll lose their deposit typically if they terminate under the cooling off.
Yeah.
But there is that extra cooling off period where you sign it and you might wake up the next day and go, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
There's a cooling off period. Like I said, it never happens. They've gone too far down the road for typically, and they know the business. They wouldn't be signing the agreement if
that's part of the second cooling off period.
That's
right?
the second cooling off period.
Yeah. So actually, I suppose lots of franchisors do take big deposits up front. We actually don't. We just take the legal fees.
Yes.
So we just take the legal fees, go into your trust account.
That's right.
And that's the incoming franchisee's legal fees.
Correct.
For you to assure the documentation too.
Correct.
So there's no chance of them losing any money there when they're just having a look and considering whether they want to sign up or not. It's
that's
just
it.
Whether they've actually signed up and started trading and then try to back out that they could lose some money there.
And bear in mind, before it even goes to us, they're having lots of conversations with you about the business, about the commercial terms of the business. So there's really shouldn't be any surprises when the franchise agreement goes to them.
No.
Because they've had all of those conversations with you or your team
exactly.
about what the fees are, what the process is, what the expectations are, that sort of thing. And so, you know, literally we're the fine print, I guess, component of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple of things, and most people that have never brought a franchise before or not been in franchising are probably not going to know the difference of them. So
sure.
Just hoping you can explain them for me. There's a franchise agreement and a disclosure document. What is the difference between them, and what do people typically see?
Yeah, so the franchise agreement is essentially the contract. So I guess that would be, you know, you could think of that as almost like the lease, or really a franchise agreement. What that is, it's an intellectual property license with a component to it where there's a suggestion or a business plan, I guess, in that use of the IP. So you got the brand, intellectual property being Beare Flooring or the brand, that's licensed to a franchisee. And then
some guidelines on how they should run their business.
And then the guidelines of exactly, suggestions of, okay, and here's our operations manual.
Yeah.
In terms of, you've got your IP, but also here's systems and here's some processes and here's like tried and tested methods that we have built over a long time that work. And it might also come with software. I know you've got software in your business.
Yes.
And all of those things form IP that is licensed to them. Anyway, short answer is that's the franchise agreement. That's the contract.
And then the
disclosure document is really, it's kind of like disclosure document is, tell us about William and Beare Flooring. Who am I getting into a franchise agreement with?
Yes.
So it's here's William's experience over the last 10 years. Here's the other franchisees' details. Here's the upfront costs, the ongoing costs. Here's the costs that you're going to pay to William. Here's other costs that you might not even think about that you've got to, budget, like things like, banking fees or, whatever, like leasing costs or whatever. And so that way the franchisee has a really, really good understanding before they sign the franchise agreement of, okay, I've got a great picture. I know William. I know what the costs are, ongoing costs are. Know what I'm getting into here. I think it's really helpful. As a we predominantly act for franchisors like yourself.
Okay.
We do act for franchisees, but I think the in terms of that process that's stipulated by the code, I think it's really reasonable. I don't think it's too much, I think that it's good information for franchisees to know, to be able to make a
informed decision.
Decision.
Making sure it's the right thing, the right fit for them, and then they can, either sign on that cooling off period or not, right?
Exactly.
And then so with the fees you've mentioned, like there's things in the disclosure document that comes up. You've mentioned you work with lots of other franchisors, and without it all being biased here for Beare Flooring, you better say the right thing. No, how does Beare Flooring stack up? I mean, I'm not saying compare us to other flooring businesses, but our fees, the way that we make money, things like that. What's your genuine take on that?
Yeah. So look, one of the things I love about Beare Flooring system, franchising typically, and in terms of our clients, just more broadly, there's no sort of box that we try to fit our clients into, and I'm sure you can attest to that. It's like we don't say you've got to fit this mold to run your business. It's like you're the entrepreneur, and you tell us what the Beare Flooring model looks like, and that might be completely unique, and you might say some things that are like, this is what we're going to do, and I can give you advice as to what's industry standard, but one of those things that's really unique for you, for example, is that you guys don't charge at the time of this, there's no service fee being charged in Beare Flooring, which is really, really uncommon.
Yeah.
And so, in other words, a franchisee who signs up to be a Beare Flooring franchisee, they don't pay a percentage of their gross revenue on a service fee payable to you. There's a marketing fee, but there's not a percentage or a fixed fee, monthly amount that's paid to you.
Yep.
So how the franchisor, I guess, makes their money, to be blunt, is on it's a mutual benefit of all of the franchisees selling product.
Yes.
And so
we only make money on material sales.
It's the product sales and that sort of thing. So so that's a really unique thing in terms of your business.
Yep.
There's positive. It's a positive thing. It's for franchisees. It's like, well, hey, like, like literally, there's no service fee. There's very few franchise or systems that come to mind that do that.
That's good. You mentioned a marketing fee. So we have a marketing fund, which is obviously a regulated thing. You can explain that maybe better than I can. I suppose plainly, what is a marketing fund?
So a marketing fund is basically a fee. A marketing fund is a fee that all the franchisees pay for group marketing expenses. So it's kept in a separate bank account by the franchisor. Franchisees at the end of each year are told how the marketing fund monies were spent, with meaningful information in a marketing fund statement that needs to be audited unless 75% or more of franchisees agree not to have it audited. And it's something, if for franchisees who are listening to this, if they're Beare Flooring ones, sometimes it's good to make that vote. Like, hey, I don't want to get it audited. Because for franchisors, I can tell you this is acting for heaps of franchisors, they don't mind whether they get it audited or not audited, because they're doing the right thing. But also that those costs to get it audited comes out of the marketing fee, out of the marketing fund. You know, so I mean, it's not a lot of money. It's $3.5 grand, but it's still you'd probably prefer to spend that on marketing. You know?
Sure.
But anyway, what's a marketing fund? It's marketing. Not necessarily on a franchisee's individual business, but it's growing the brand. So Beare Flooring, that brand awareness, so that people like customers, like I'm a customer of Beare Flooring, when they think of, I need flooring, I think of Beare Flooring.
Yes, yeah, of course. So we allocate a large proportion of individual franchisees allocation or payment towards marketing fund to advertise in their area for them, actually.
Yep,
And then
that's
as far as the auditing of it goes, we do that. I've never asked if everybody doesn't want to have it done. But we do have custom software in our business, like you've mentioned. And I've been deep in building this new version, and I can't wait to actually show you how that looks. But I have my marketing fund live on there. There's actually a tab that has a direct API, direct connection to the Xero, which is an individual Xero account for the marketing fund.
Yep.
So any franchisee can actually just see the marketing fund at any point. So maybe they will choose not to have it audited this time. Who knows? Maybe we'll ask them, right? Because there's literally no point to be able to see it there in front of them. You know.
See, that amount of transparency is so awesome, and that goes, I think, in my opinion, above code compliance. You know, it's not just you're not just trying to meet the minimum standards that are set out in the code. Like to have real time tracking of what you're spending your marketing monies on. Yeah, I don't think I'm aware of any other franchisor doing that, you know.
Well, it's not my money, is it? They pay into it. It's their money. We do our best to spend it. Like I said, we spend a vast majority of their contribution on them in the area. We do spend some on things like, you know, national campaigns or website development, you know, things like that. But yeah, I mean, why not be transparent, right? It's like I've said, it's literally not my money. We're just trying to spend it. We're good at it. You know, we're good at marketing the business. It works. That's sort of why you buy a franchise, right? You get all that back end support.
That's awesome.
We don't charge for any of that. It's all just part of the service there. So the other thing that's interesting when people are inquiring about a franchise, specifically Beare Flooring franchises, you know, the distinction between a exclusive marketing and exclusive trade territory.
Yeah.
So at Beare Flooring, we sell a franchise that comes with a territory for us, which is a bunch of postcodes. We've had a territory mapping company cut the country up.
Yeah.
So each territory has a similar amounts of units of demand, which is a livable dwelling. So they've all got the same amount of, or very close to, opportunities in them. You know, like for example, a city, Brisbane City franchise for us is really small logistically, but that's because it's got lots of high rises. You know.
Sure.
So my question for you, I was hoping you can articulate to everybody is, you know, what's the difference between an exclusive marketing territory and exclusive trade? Because at Beare Flooring we do exclusive marketing.
Yeah, so again, it's another unique thing in the Beare Flooring system. So a franchisee who signs up in Beare Flooring will get a territory map in the annexure of their franchise agreement. So they'll see, and as you said, you've had the whole country mapped out.
Yes.
And so they'll see what that their territory, I guess.
Yes.
And then your question is, okay, well, what does that mean? What can I do in my territory? With Beare Flooring, you have an exclusive marketing territory, which means that no other franchisee can market within your territory for work, but you can market in that territory, do flyers, do targeted advertising for work. But it doesn't mean that you can't necessarily operate outside of that territory. So if you land some jobs outside of the map that's in your franchise agreement that's not in that area, you can do that work.
Yeah. Maybe it's like a referral or your friend or...
exactly. And so... but you can't market it in those other areas. You know what I mean?
We felt that to be the right decision because, you know, lots of property owners or, you know, people who do renovations, they might own properties in different areas, right? It doesn't make any sense. They build a connection with one franchisee and they do a job, they're happy.
Yeah.
And then not be able to use the same person in the other area. Of course, you know, you want to get that person to go and do the job.
Totally.
So that's the way that we've got that.
Yeah.
So then, you know, this all sounds really positive. And, you know, when people are coming into franchising, you know, sometimes people are a little bit concerned. Like there is some bad things to say about franchising. Some people have bad tastes in their mouths or, you know, people say, oh, you know, don't give, you know, franchisor all the fees and things like that. You know, are there any negatives, maybe not any sort of negatives that you could share, you know, what happens if something goes wrong or like, you know, what about a dispute or...
Yeah. Look, as a franchise lawyer, I have heard over the years that there can be some sentiment of I don't like franchises. You know what I mean? You might hear an accountant who has that position. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or another solicitor who's averse to franchises. In my experience, the clients we have, a lot of the franchisees are buying additional franchised businesses because they're making so much money. Do you know what I mean?
We've got lots of multi-site operators.
Yeah, and you
so
do.
they clearly work. Right?
You do, and so that's it. Kind of like, I say this to the lawyers at the office, like the best compliment you can get is for a client to refer you another client. You know what I mean? And say, hey, I've used Sam or Keisha or Oliver or whoever, and you should use that. You should use that team. With franchising, if they're buying additional franchise businesses, that obviously says everything you need to know about. Hey, obviously something's working.
Why would they buy a second?
So in terms of that sentiment about if franchising, for those accountants who, if they're seeing this, or a lawyer who has franchises, I'm not into them, I don't like them. There unfortunately are some franchise systems out there, because there's so many who've given franchising a bad name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's been some real bad operators out there, and essentially franchising allows a lot of control, because it needs control, because you need uniformity in the system. You know what I mean? A Beare Flooring operator in Toowoomba needs to be providing the same sort of service as the guy in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And so that requires an operations manual and strict adherence to that operations manual and training, right? That in the wrong hands, it can give franchising a bad name. And there've been some operators out there who have unfortunately done that, and you can read the news, and typically they've been held accountable, which is good, because the ACCC strictly monitor the franchise
heavily
industry.
regulated, isn't it? Yeah,
Heavily
Franchise Council, ACCC.
Yeah,
it's not like a franchisor can just go about and do all these wild things once people are in. Like,
that's it. No, and I find the ACCC very reasonable. They are there to make sure that there aren't naughty, dodgy franchisors, and if they are dodgy franchisors, they're held accountable and they're given fines, or they're wiped off the face of the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, exactly. And what about if there's a dispute? I mean, how's that typically handled?
So again, regulated by the franchising code. So the dispute process in franchising, I love. It's to be honest, it's the only dispute resolution procedures I've done in terms of in my career is franchise disputes, and trademark disputes. But in terms of the franchise disputes, there's a code obligated mediation process. So what happens is, if a party party to a franchise agreement has a grievance, and they send the other party a notice of dispute.
Yes.
Hey, this is what my dispute is. This is what I want you guys to do to fix it. And this is how long I want. This is when I want it done by. If you can't resolve that dispute within that time frame, then either party can refer the dispute to a mediator. And that has to be an independent mediator. And so the costs of mediation are shared 50% by both parties. And in my experience, in the sort of 13, 14 years, whatever it's been doing franchising, I think maybe there's been 2 occasions where a franchise dispute wasn't resolved at mediation. I find mediation awesome. I think it's just a really great process. If it's not resolved at mediation on the day, typically the mediation period will be extended. It can be for a few weeks or whatever, and it's typically resolved in that period.
I suppose that's really good. So there's no massive control either way. A franchisee can't just go wild, do all these things. Neither can a franchisor. And if there's a dispute, there's a formal process. You go, you mediate, and in your experience of 13 years, typically whatever it is gets resolved at mediation.
Typically at mediation, yeah. If it doesn't, then obviously then you're talking litigation, and off to court you go. But the mediation process is relatively inexpensive. And I think it's a really great way to resolve disputes. The best thing about mediation for franchising is it gets lawyers out of the picture. And so it's you sitting with your franchisee, or franchisee sitting with the franchisor, and they don't have to go through a lawyer,
writing big emails and
writing back and forward and litigating by correspondence.
Yes.
And you get to say, hey, William, man, what's your issue? Like, why? And you say, well, here's my issue.
Yeah.
And I just want this. And you say, is that all you want? Yeah. Well, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Done. Solved.
Mediation done, yeah. Cool. And then obviously, one thing that happens is people buy a franchise, they build it, just like any business, right? And then maybe they want to retire, or their life changes, they want to move cities or something.
Sure.
So maybe they want to sell their business. What process is involved there, and do you help with that? I mean, how can you explain that to us?
So another probably selling point for Beare Flooring would be that for I guess flooring professionals out there, there's the benefit of buying a Beare Flooring franchise is that you can build goodwill in your business and you can sell that, and so you can sell that at any time during the term or renewal term.
Yes.
And so that might be, from memory, yours is a 5 + 5 + 5
Yes,
year
for the
term.
agreements.
So you've got 15 years under the agreement, and you might build up a bunch of goodwill, get a great reputation, and say you've used your first renewal term, so you've got 10 years to go. You go off and find a buyer. And you can sell that business. In terms of what it looks like, really quickly without going into it, we can help franchisees with the sale of their businesses. So if you're a franchisee looking to sell a business, you can certainly reach out to us. We can help you with that. What it looks like is preparing a business sale agreement. There's two ways you can sell a business, crudely. One is to sell shares in the company that runs the business, and the other is to sell the business as a going concern. Typically, businesses are being sold as a going concern. So not often are people buying the shares in the company, because there's too much risk as to what that company has in its skeleton, in the closet. You just typically will do a business sale by way of a business sale agreement. Franchisor has to give their consent to the sale. And that typically will mean that, hey, I just want to make sure that the guy or girl who's coming in is, has the necessary acumen and they're a good fit for our business.
Yep.
And they get the disclosure document and franchise agreement. The buyer gets that, and the seller has to sign a deed of surrender. Pretty straightforward process. You can probably do that, particularly in a business where there's no lease, like Beare Flooring, unless you're a master franchisee. That process can be, sort of 3 weeks.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks heaps for your time today. We've had Sam come in today so we can be upfront and honest and just allow people who are interested in our business to learn about how we operate and just how franchising operates in general. So the point of this podcast was to share information, as it is always. If you're interested in doing this, my phone's on. I'm happy to chat. Please send me an email, text message, call the work line here. I'm readily available. These franchises are moving quickly and we're selling them to flooring professionals.